I'm hungry, please give me some food.
On a stormy morning during a typhoon, I opened the front door to leave for work. To my surprise, my 4-year-old niece was standing at my doorstep in the heavy rain and wind, without an umbrella. "Where are your mom and dad?" I was surprised to hear this, but could not believe my ears when my niece said the following words.
They went on a trip with my little brother.
I trembled with anger when I heard what my brother and his wife had done to her, which was unacceptable. I swore to put them through hell and back more than my niece has gone through. I am Kylie King, 33 years old. I live with my husband and our 7-year-old daughter, Sarah. I work in accounting at a regular company. Our family bonds are strong and we lead busy yet happy lives. However, there's one thing that I've been worried about: my only brother and his family, who lived half an hour's walk away. My brother, who is 4 years older than me, has a wife, Yasmin, a 4-year-old daughter, Yolanda, and a 3-year-old son, Simon. As an only child, my daughter was very fond of her cousins Yolanda and Simon, and I find it heartwarming. My parents have already passed away, and my sister-in-law's parents live far away, so when my niece and nephew were born, I helped them as much as I could. When Yasmin gave birth to Simon, my brother, who was busy running the printing company he inherited from our father, couldn't take care of Yolanda, so I looked after her for a week or so. I, as well as my husband and daughter, have always cared for Yolanda and Simon. My niece in particular was very attached to me, and she and my daughter were like real sisters. Now, let me share my concerns, specifically about Yolanda. It all began when Yasmin gave birth to Simon.
Isn't he adorable? Boys are truly special.
When Yasmin came home from hospital with my nephew, she gazed at Simon and was melted by him, not even looking at Yolanda, whom she hadn't seen in a while.
We must raise the heir with care.
Even my brother was spoony and full of joy.
Daddy.
You go over there.
I can still picture her lonely expression when she was just 1.5 years old. Despite her young age, she seemed to sense something. I was a little concerned about the cold attitude of my brother and Yasmin towards Yolanda, but it's hard to describe how adorable the newborn baby is. I assumed their behavior would settle down over time. However, Yolanda becomes gloomy every time I meet her. While 3-year-old Simon always wore brand new clothes, Yolanda was tattered, worn-out clothes. It's obvious to see the difference in how they are treated by their parents, between Yolanda and Simon. Yasmin frequently asked for Sarah's old clothes for Yolanda, so I suggested buying new clothes sometime for Yolanda as well.
No, that's a waste of the money. We don't have extra money to spend on Yolanda.
I never expected those words and it shocked me. I once went shopping to buy her clothes and gave them to her when she stayed with me, as I felt so sorry for her.
She doesn't need any of that. If you have money to spare, buy something for Simon.
My brother raised his voice so loudly, and he made a big deal about it.
He should get more clothes and you have to be patient, as you're his big sister.
Yasmin even blamed her for saying it. Yolanda hung her head and remained silent, her eyes welling up with tears while she was being told off. That's not good. If things continue like this, I won't be able to buy anything for her. I of course love Simon as much as I do Yolanda, but I feel so sorry for Yolanda. Hey, bro, you should pay a little more attention to Yolanda.
I'm doing the right things. She always looks gloomy, and that's why people misunderstand her.
I asked him in a gentle way, but he started to speak ill of her even more. I was afraid that if I interfered, it would make her position even worse. I was so frustrated but decided to watch over it without doing anything unnecessary for a while. To be honest, I used to work as an accountant at my brother's company until 6 months ago. However, when Simon turned 3 years old, Yasmin suddenly decided to send the children to daycare and start working at my brother's company herself.
Since I'll be handling the accounting from now on, you don't need to come and work here anymore, Kylie.
It was a rather forceful decision, and I ended up quitting my brother's company. Fortunately, my accounting skills were recognized, and I quickly found another job at a different company. But ever since then, my brother's family has distanced themselves from me. My daughter also frequently says,
I want to play with Yolanda and Simon.
I know, I wonder how those kids are doing. I haven't seen Yolanda and Simon much, and my daughter Sarah feels lonely too. Honestly, I'm worried about Yolanda. I'm also concerned about the company my father started. After leaving my brother's company, Yasmin once called me in, saying,
Hey, can you do that as it's the closing period? You've been doing it all along, haven't you?
It's your job now though, isn't it? Also, what does this mean? I pointed out something that bothered me, but she responded sharply said,
What the heck? No ifs, ands, or buts. Just get it done quickly.
She made me handle the closing process without any explanation, and once it was done, she sent me away. I wonder if she really has experience in accounting? I was surprised when I looked at the books. It seemed like she didn't understand accounting at all. Days went by, and I still haven't been able to see Yolanda and Simon. I have no idea how they were doing. Even if they dislike it, I should visit my brother's family. Feeling restless, I planned to visit them next weekend. But then, an incident occurred. On a stormy morning during a typhoon, the wind was strong and rain poured down. I was about to leave for work, leaving Sarah with my husband at home. Well then, I'm off now. I swung the door open with force and was left in stunned silence for a moment by what I saw. There, in front of the entrance, without an umbrella, stood 4-year-old Yolanda, her face pale.
I'm hungry, please give me some food.
What happened? Where are your mom and dad?
They went on a trip with my little brother.
Her words shocked me even more, and I couldn't hide my surprise and anger. You've got to be kidding. I couldn't leave her like this, so I immediately contacted my workplace, took a day off, and decided to babysit her. Yolanda, it must have been scary. It's okay now. I spoke gently and hugged her tightly. In response, she nodded as if relieved with tear-filled eyes. Since when have your mom and dad been gone?
Well,
She is only 4 years old, so she may not be able to speak well, but piecing together what she says, it seemed that my brother and sister-in-law had left on a trip with only Simon. They hadn't returned, and Yolanda had been alone at home for at least 3 days. You were all alone at home? How did you manage with meals? She apparently ate the bread and things her mum left, but she had come here to seek help after running out of food. I should have visited my brother's family home sooner. I never thought things would turn out like this, and I regretted not acting sooner. First and foremost, I was worried about her physical condition, so I decided to take her to the doctor. Although she was in a mild state of malnutrition and physically weakened, there was no need for hospitalization and she could recover at home. When we returned home together, I immediately prepared warm udon noodles for her.
yummy.
I felt relieved watching her eating them with her small mouth, and at the same time, I was on the warpath with what they did to her. After the meal, with school cancelled due to the typhoon, Sarah played with her, which eventually made her smile.
I want to stay at Auntie's house forever.
Of course you can stay here as long as you like. I answered with a beaming smile, but her next words left me speechless.
My mom and dad don't like me.
Her tearful expression gave me heartache.
I wonder if Simon has been doing well.
Despite her own worries, she expressed concern for her little brother, which made my heart ache even more. I need to cheer her up. As if to dispel the sadness, I deliberately smiled at her. All right, let's all sleep together tonight, me, you, and Sarah.
Yay.
Sarah and Yolanda snuggled up like real sisters and were sleeping peacefully, which made me feel at ease. Ah, they're adorable. I'll defend these kids' smiles. How could they do such a terrible thing to such a lovely child? How scary and uneasy she was to be abandoned alone. The more I thought about her feelings, the more anger welled up inside me. Leaving a 4-year-old niece behind for a trip was absolutely unacceptable. At this moment, I swore to put my brother and his wife through hell and back twice as bad as the one my niece went through. The next day, being the weekend, I could act promptly. First, I decided to visit their house to verify if they were truly on a trip and where they were. I entrusted Yolanda to my husband, who was both home due to my day off, and Sarah. When I arrived at their house, the door was unlocked, just as Yolanda had said. Inside, I found bags of bread and other food she must have eaten alone. As soon as I saw that, an indescribable, sad feeling welled up in me. On the living room table, I noticed a photocopy of their travel schedule. Their trip schedule matches what Yolanda said. Wait, oh my god. This is an overseas trip, isn't it? Actually, my brother and sister-in-law had gone to Hawaii. It wasn't a place they could return from immediately, and I really couldn't understand what they were thinking. From the schedule, I learned that my brother and his family were scheduled to return on Monday. I left their house, fueling my anger. I then visited an acquaintance and, together, we headed to a certain location. Investigating further, I discovered something shocking. I was right. From there, I sent my brother a message saying Yolanda is staying with me and we need to talk when you get back. Monday arrived, the day my brother and his family would eventually return from their trip. Knowing their flight time, I waited in ambush at their house. When my sunburned brother and sister-in-law arrived with their large suitcases, they were startled to see me.
Hey Kylie. How come you are here?
I said we needed to talk. Oh, Simon's already asleep. He was tired and fell fast asleep, so Yasmin took him to bed. As she came back to the living room, I broached the conversation. Hey, do you know? In the midst of a typhoon, Yolanda came to my house all alone. Although I made an emotional appeal to them, they looked at each other and remained unfazed.
Did she? Good on her.
Would you believe that he chuckled and grinned? As for Yasmin, she crossed her arms and glowered at me with a grieved face, saying,
We just got home and I'm so tired.
How can you be so insensitive of your own child? I was so annoyed by her attitude that I raised my voice and confronted them. She is only 4 years old even. You left her all alone. What if something had happened?
I left her with enough food, like bread. There shouldn't have been any problem.
She showed no sign of remorse.
She's a tough one though, because she went to you when she was hungry.
He didn't realize how serious the incident was and continued to smirk and laugh. Talking to these people is pointless. Their attitudes made my blood boil again, and I firmly declared, since Yolanda wants to stay at my house, I'll raise her instead. Is that clear?
Do whatever you want. As long as the heir, Simon, is here, we're all good.
No problem as long as Simon is around.
She didn't scowl, rather, she looked happy and agreed. But what had Yolanda done? She is still their child. I have to reveal everything now? Deeply disappointed by my brother and sister-in-law, I finally made up my mind. You guys keep on saying, heir, I wonder if that company will survive until Simon comes of age.
What do you mean?
Suddenly bringing up the company, he looked puzzled. You are cheating on its taxes, aren't you?
What are you talking about? There's no way I'd do that. Do you have any evidence?
Despite his obvious agitation, he flat out to deny it. So I revealed my unease from the time Yasmin asked me to help with the financial statements. So I told him that I felt uncomfortable when she asked me to help her with the accounts once before. Back then, I couldn't pursue it further because your wife forced me out, but I can't leave it like this.
Ha! There's no evidence, after all. Don't threaten me.
He scoffed at me. I asked Mr. Suzuki to examine the books with me. There's solid evidence.
What? Mr. Suzuki? You mean?
Mr. Suzuki had worked for our family for years. While my brother and sister-in-law were away on a trip, I confided in him and sought his help. I asked him and we went to my brother's company together, and that's when we discovered the tax evasion.
Anyway, the tax evasion is an accusation.
My brother was still trying to talk his way out of it, with sweat pouring from his forehead. Humph. Even on this family trip, you were planning to charge it to the company, weren't you? Isn't that right, Yasmin? Caught off guard by my sudden question, she froze, but I continued. I also know that those designer bags you're so proud of, you put those down to expense too. I probably went for the jugular, and she blinked her eyes and fell silent. I also pointed out that they had falsely claimed business entertainment expenses while dining at expensive restaurants and subsequently reduced employee bonuses, which I heard from Mr. Suzuki. As I presented specifics, both of them grew paler. Yasmin defensively exclaimed,
I'm innocent. I didn't know anything.
She hysterically blamed my brother, as she was driven into a corner.
You said I could buy whatever I liked, so I just did the accounting.
My brother was dumbfounded, but that didn't stop her from attacking him.
Also, you wanted to get rid of Kylie because having her around would disturb your free spending, right?
Just calm down. I have a plan to silence her.
He smirked as he rubbed her back and whispered something in her ear. Then Yasmin, who had an angry look in her eyes, became calm all of a sudden and smiled at me.
I see. Let's go for that strategy.
She said it, glancing at me. What are you two whispering about?
If my tax evasion were exposed, it could tarnish our father's company's reputation and even lead to its downfall. Are you okay with that?
My brother tried to intimidate me, but I was ready for that long ago and I would not be rattled. I'm fine with it. Our father valued justice. Even if the company faces a crisis, he would hope the truth must come to light. When I said this in a firm manner, my brother made a sour face.
Damn it! I'm going to shut you up.
He attacked me and put me in a full Nelson, out of the blue.
If it was found out, then so be it. You'll stay quiet for a while.
He said it, telling Yasmin to find something to tie me up. It's too late to struggle now. Mr. Suzuki is probably handing in evidence of tax evasion to the tax office.
That's not true.
Instantly, he lost his previous bravado and I managed to escape his grip.
How could you do that to me?
My brother froze, his face pale, as if to say it was the end of the world.
I haven't done anything and I haven't been involved.
She started to cry, saying that it wasn't her fault.
I'm sorry, it was my fault. Please help me, Kylie.
You're mad as we didn't take her with us, aren't you? I'm gonna take good care of her from now on. It's good enough, isn't it?
Both of them clung to me saying this. When I shook my head, they both started to humbly beg my forgiveness. Don't be slick. It's too late for everything. Forget about the company.
Please don't be so rigid. Just let me off the hook this one time. If the business goes under, we won't be able to feed our children.
Then I'll raise both of them for you. Although Yasmin clung to me, begging for forgiveness, I wouldn't accept it. As for leaving Yolanda home alone, be prepared, I'll report it to the police. They must have had no idea about it. They were both shocked after making the sound of what? And both fell silent. Then I explained their serious crimes.
Give us a break, we don't want to get in trouble with the police. We were strict to her because we cared for her as an older sister.
Such excuses wouldn't work. In fact, when Yolanda was wearing tattered clothes, I had taken photos, hoping they might serve its purpose. I had also recorded our entire conversation. If I hand over this image and audio to the police, you can't get away with it. Although they both tearfully made a humble apology, my anger just flared up. I'll raise both Yolanda and Simon responsibly. You two must pay for your crime. I rejected their apologies and firmly pushed them away. They collapsed on the floor and I called the police in front of them. They dropped their heads and were unable to move, then they were taken away by the arriving police officers. They would spend some time behind bars. I took Simon home with me. Afterward, what they've done toward Yolanda were deemed malicious, resulting in facing criminal charges. On top of that, my brother faced substantial tax claims, and the company's reputation suffered, ultimately leading to bankruptcy unfortunately. Apparently, they had to part with all their assets, including their home. I took away everything from them in fury. They will have a hard life ahead of them when they get out of prison. As I declared, I've taken in both Yolanda and Simon, and our lively life continues. Yolanda has now a bright look and genuine smiles grace her face. Although I worried about Simon being separated from his parents, he has adapted to our new life and thrives. Grateful to my husband for wholeheartedly accepting the responsibility of raising them, I'm working hard at my jobs and housework to keep the children smiling. How did you find this story? Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.